In August 1980, Tomei was biding his time, waiting to hear about a loan that might lead either to the restoration of his preeminence or the liquidation of his estate. Failing the loan, he would have to make the hard decision to sell one boat to permit his economic survival through the other. In telling me of the meager rewards of ordinary fishing compared to boat ownership, Tomei clung to his accustomed captain owner's perspective. This wasn't unrealistic. There were still ways for him to right himself. Tomei and Sonia planned to move to new rental quarters once his boats were fishing again. Their current apartment was too small for a freezer, necessary if he was going to market his fish. They had been trying to find something for less than $125 a month. He might even move back into the house, registered in his and his mother's name, once his rental agreement with the city people expired. Tomei's story through August 1980 illustrates how Aaron Bepe's past haunted its present and its near future. The leveling mechanisms were still there, mired in the social obligations that accompanied success. Tomei sought escape in defiance. Through behavior perceived as antisocial, he cut himself off from the kin-based support that might have otherwise been offered. In the final analysis, good was limited, not just in people's minds, but in reality. In Tomei's victimization by outsiders and his lack of education, power, and other middle-class advantages, poverty was the most durable legacy of the old Aaron Bepe. And poverty, now fully contextualized within the national class structure, was a generations-old malady that neither a double dose of achievement motivation nor a liaison with a middle-class dropout could do much to cure. It was better then, wasn't it, Conrado? Marked a native woman my age, the new principal of the local junior high school, about my early times in Aaron Bepe. For her family, things had been better. In '62, her father had run the town's main store, co-owned a productive sailboat, and extended credit to almost everyone in Aaron Bepe. Over the years, his business had fallen off as villagers bought groceries in Salvador, in Atapuan, or from the supermarket bus that came once a week. A dozen bars, restaurants, and small stores also offered competition. By 1980, differences in Arab Impero's perspective on change were obvious. Some, like Alberto, had only good things to say about the new Aaron Bepe. For most villagers, however, novelty no longer excited and tantalized as it had on my previous visit in 1973. It seemed as though Aaron Beperos were so fascinated by new people, new technology, new opportunities, they had little time for us, familiar, unexciting outsiders. In 1980, by contrast, many villagers spoke of the old days nostalgically. Several people made a point of telling us they remembered the automobile rides we had given them during the 1960s. A fishing captain mentioned that he would be forever grateful to the field team leader, Marvin Harris, for driving his wife to a Salvador hospital. Villagers would never forget that a baby girl had been born in the field team vehicle in 1963, and assistant field leader Shepard Foreman rushed the mother to the hospital. Aunt Delia's son remembered I had once given him a ride from Portillo to Aaron Bepe, as I did for Dino, now Aaron Bepe's biggest capitalist, the day he returned from 2 years of commercial fishing in Rio de Janeiro. "You don't forget Aaron Bepe," said a villager to Betty. "You and Conrado always come back." Many villagers seemed genuinely moved by our 1980 return. I think they saw us as kind of a complex symbol of the confrontation that has been the subject of this book. We were not just a simple reminder of the pre-asphalt, pre-hippie, pre-tourist, pre-factory past. We simultaneously symbolized tradition and change, past and present, middle class and alien. We had been unknowingly scouts in a coming invasion, but we had been early and special enough to be captured and assimilated by the host. And because of this, we had been fused into their deeper social history. To be sure, in 1980, we were still outsiders, but long familiar ones who witnessed and been a part of Aaron Bepe as it used to be. After my pleasant 1980 stay, I was particularly sorry to leave. I arranged to work with Alberto the Saturday afternoon before my Sunday departure, clearing up some points and asking final questions. When I entered his house, expecting to sit on his balcony and talk as we had often done, I was annoyed to find a crew of boisterous weekend drinkers in the place I had planned for us. Alberto, my son Nicholas, and I got in my rental car, and I drove us far south beyond the last summer house in the neighborhood where I lived in 1973. We sat and talked on the beach, constantly forced back as the rising tide threatened the field notes I was holding in my lap. After a late August squall, the sea was still strong and yellower than I had ever seen it. There was a powerful scent of rotten eggs in the air. Currents churned by the storm were bringing factory waste closer to shore than usual. How long, I wondered, could Aaron Bepe's tourist appeal and its fishing industry last? Would pollution eventually destroy this place that held such importance in my life? What would Arambepe be like on my next visit? Would the boat owners stay as rich? Would Dora build her dream house? Could Tome strike back? Those were among the questions I pondered. As I filtered through Tiber's fumes, the rays of the setting sun shone on the sulfuric sea, turning waters once aqua to the color of blood.